Thank you. I was over talking to one of my friends from Waycross, NAACP leader Larry Lockie, and certainly want to thank the Johnson family and the great lawyers we have, Attorney Crump and King, and all of the great leaders here from all around the state. Ed DuBose, my brother in the struggle. I just want to say briefly why Macon is so important to me. You don't know this. You all don't know this. Let me tell you that I was in Macon, Georgia on March 21st, 1968 with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Jose William, Ralph David Abernathy, Willie Bolden, Robert Howard, and many others. We were at New Zion Baptist Church, which is not far from here, over on Burton Road. I think Reverend Henry Ficklin is out here somewhere, our treasurer of the Georgia Association of Black Elected Officials, Reverend Henry Ficklin. Reverend Ficklin went to the archives of the Macon Telegraph about 2004 and brought me articles. He dug up these articles to show us that we were in Macon 2 weeks before Dr. King was assassinated. We were here in Macon, Georgia. I was just a little 22-year-old rookie taking orders from Jose Williams, and wherever he told me to go, I went. He said, come to Macon. I went to Macon, came here, and we were in New Zion Baptist Church, Representative Hager, and I heard the undertaker, Mr. Dan Young, who buried the victims at the Mooresford Bridge in Monroe, Georgia, where we will be tomorrow, and where the Johnson family will be speaking. Mr. Young said to Dr. King, he could say Martin, we said Dr. King. And he said, Ralph, we would say Dr. Abernathy. He said, I need you all to commit to come to Monroe, Georgia, to take on this lynching case. And Dr. King said, Dan, when Ralph and I finish in Memphis with the sanitation worker strike, we are coming. I said, Jose, let me go to Memphis with you tonight. He said, no, no, no. I want you to go back over to Monroe and wait on the plane that's going to bring Abernathy and King through there. They're going to talk about the lynching. They're going on up to D.C. to plan the Poor People's Campaign March on Washington. He said, then I want you to go up and hook with Walter Fauntroy. Rita Samuels knows Walter Fauntroy very well because she grew up in SCLC. So I was in Monroe waiting on the plane on this day, 46 years ago, waiting on the plane. The plane never came because while I was watching Chet Huntley on NBC and Walter Cronkite on CBS, I got the news that my leader had been struck down in Memphis around 6 o'clock p.m. at the Lorraine Motel. I was sitting at 460 Fairplay Drive in Social Circle, Georgia. It's now called A.P. Henderson Drive, in the home of Ralph and Myrtle Ivy, when I got the news that my leader had been taken away from us by our government. Immediately Claudette Matthews called me. She said, where are you? I said, I am in Social Circle. She said, Dr. Abernathy wants you to return to Atlanta and come to Memphis tonight. Then Terry Randolph called me, Jose's secretary. Same thing. Come back to Atlanta, we're going to Memphis tonight. I remember driving that little rental car out of that yard that evening. I remember getting on I-20 headed to Atlanta, and I parked that car at 334 Auburn Avenue. But I remember nothing in between, Joe. It's a blank in my mind today. I was crying. I was upset. 22 years old. My leader had been taken away from us. Taken away from us. I couldn't overcome it. And I sat there in that home and I heard Chet Huntley say, Walter Cronkite say, Dr. King is dead. I died. That Tyrone Brooks died in that home that day. But a new Tyrone was born. But we arrived in Memphis the next morning. I drove Willie Bolden's car to Memphis that night with his wife sitting on my right passenger side reading the book all the way. Bolden was on the back seat sleeping. And I drove that brand new white Thunderbird, steam miles, 90, 100, and 120, whatever it would do. And every now and then Willie Bolden would reach up and touch me on the shoulder. Slow down, man, slow down. We're going to get there. I said, I can't wait, Bolden. I said, you want to drive it, you drive it. If you let me drive it, I'm going to drive it like I want to drive it. Brand new white Thunderbird. We arrived in Memphis that night. I got to tell you this story because this is a day 46 years later on this day. We get to Memphis. Memphis is burning. Fires everywhere. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't go to bed. I'm walking around Memphis with my dashiki and my big afro, weighing 90 pounds. National Guard troops on every corner, rifle bayonet. They just looked at me like I was crazy. I could not sleep. They had a room for me at the Holiday Inn. Couldn't get into the Lorraine. It was shut down. The next morning, Dr. Abernathy called us together. Aretha Franklin singing songs. Her dad, Reverend C.L. Franklin, preaching. Her brother came in from Detroit. He started preaching. Benjamin Brooks. All the great leaders. The Reverend Abernathy said to us, dry your tears. Pull your pants up. We are going to work to complete the dream. If you love Martin, dry your tears. Keep on doing the work if you love Martin. We're going on with the Poor People's Campaign. We're going to keep on marching if you love Martin. We're not going to moan and groan in our misery. We are going to continue to do the work of Martin Luther King Jr. if you love Martin. And from that day, the new Tyrone was born. The old one died. The old one died when I heard that Dr. King had been shot and killed. You can't imagine how I felt at the age of 22. He was everything to me. The greatest thing that walked the planet is Jesus Christ. Some people don't understand why I say that. God sent him here for 39 years to do his work. He put Christ here for 33 years to do his work. Martin Luther King Jr. did it all for us. It's our time to do his work going forward. And if you can't stand with this family today, if you can't stand with the Johnsons who lost their baby at the age of 17 and helped them fight, you ought to give up your title as a civil rights leader, a civil rights worker, elected official, whatever you call yourself. If you can't stand with this family that lost their baby at the age of 17 years old, KJ, you ought to give it up. Instead, stop pretending that you are a civil rights leader. Let me bring it on home and turn the mic back over to Mark. Let me just say this. I told Marcus on the conference call Wednesday night. Martin Luther King Jr. was 17 years old, just like your baby, when he ignited the fire to deal with the Morris Ford Bridge lynching. He was 17 years old and already finished Morehouse. Dr. King put the Morris Ford Bridge lynching on the desk of President Harry Truman and the Department of Justice, or some people say injustice. Dick Gregory says Department of Injustice. Dr. King started that movement. And Hosea Williams had me planted in that county in 1968, waiting on King and Abernathy to come to deal with it. And here we are today, getting ready to go back to that county, where we will be tomorrow, and where this family will be leading us and speaking tomorrow on a project that 17 years old Martin Luther King Jr. at the age of 17 started it. Their son at the age of 17 has awakened a new movement. Because when their baby died at the age of 17, our babies died. Whether your baby is over 17 or not or younger. I just have to say to Marcus Coleman and all of the other leaders here today, this is a movement to speak to America's conscience about the killing of our young black males. The Malcolms and Dorsey's were in their early 20s, 21, 22 years old. And I just have to say to you, thank you for coming. I don't know where Macon and Bill is today, but I can say I saw these folks from all over. Just met a brother from Detroit, Michigan, who drove down from Detroit. He said, I had to come from Detroit. All the way from Detroit. Well, where's Macon and Bill County? Black men are being shot down in Macon every single day. Thank you, Macon. And I want to thank Reverend Quitman and Commissioner Elaine Lucas, the Vice President of G.B.R. and others out here today. Thank you for coming. And the final thing I want to say, thank all of you who love Martin Luther King so much that you lobbied, you wrote letters, you did your email, you did your Twitter, you did your Facebooking, you did everything you could do to help Representative D. Hagel and I pass legislation to bring a statue of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to your Capitol grounds very, very soon. Can't thank you enough. Without you, it wouldn't have happened. I didn't think we were going to pass the legislation. Rita Samuel said, Tyrone, it was a miracle. It has been a miracle to bring legislation to the governor's desk, to put a statue of the man we honor today on your state Capitol ground. And finally, tomorrow, we'll be at the First African Baptist Church in Monroe, 10:30 a.m. The Johnson family will be speaking on the bridge, representing not only KJ's legacy, but the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So we will see you in Monroe tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. Thank you, Marcus Coleman, very much. Thank you for all you do.
So y'all give it up for Representative Brooks. One of my mentors, under his tutelage. You can't help but soak in some of that knowledge. Before I bring this next giant up, I don't think we mentioned that every single organ, major organ in Kendrick was missing. Have you heard about that? Yes. And not just his major organs, also his tongue and windpipe. We talked about the nails. Well, a message to those responsible. You might have removed Kendrick Johnson's tongue, but mine is working just fine. You might have removed Kendrick Johnson's heart, but I tell you right now, this family's heart beats like a lion banging on 1,000 drums. You might have removed Kendrick Johnson's lungs, but help me by filling yours with air and screaming, "No justice!" Next, we're going to hear from a global activist, the honorary ambassador Joe Beasley of the Joe Beasley Foundation.